Gladiator Diaries episode 22. We have got a lot to get to in this episode, so I'm not going to spend too much time doing this intro, but it has been a couple of weeks, and it's always a good thing, I think, when people should get excited when there isn't an episode on the usual Friday, because it means that
Things are
you're
happening.
busy making things happen. So it means that the next week there's gonna be some stuff to get into, and there is certainly that with this episode. How have the last few days been, I suppose, before we get into the reason we didn't record last week with your various travels?
Yeah, last few weeks have been pretty mad. Obviously, I've had a lot of things that are to be done. I haven't got a fight booked as of yet. As I've been mentioning, I've been hoping about April or May, but you've got to try and improve, try and bring out the skill set a little bit more and stuff like this. It was my birthday on the 10th of February, which was last Saturday. I did a wrestling tournament on Saturday. I went to Tom Aspinall's gym up in Liverpool for a whole week just before that, or just prior to that. So there's been quite a lot going on in the life of the Baltic Gladiator as of late. And like I say, it's all been absolutely amazing experiences and great things to add to my repertoire as an athlete, as a UFC fighter. And will definitely pay dividends, I feel, whenever I get back into the cage, whenever that date may be. So just staying on a straight path, just working on improvement, getting better, sharpening the tools, and I feel like everything will come together as and when it should.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks, and I think we probably would have done an episode. We nearly did do one last week, but because of the wrestling tournament, right? It's like you you're straight from one thing into another. So I suppose we'll start before the wrestling tournament and talk about going up north to train with Tom Aspinall and the rest of those guys over there. We spoke about it a little bit on the last episode that we did, and about the plans to do that. But I suppose to start at the very start of that trip, what was it like going up there initially and getting settled over there?
Yeah. Well, do you know what's mad? So I actually went. So Jit, very good friend of mine, and his wife and his kid. They got me for my birthday D Block tickets to go and watch them at the O2. They had like VIP, which was sick. Really good view. It was similar. It's the same view as when I actually went to go and watch the UFC myself with one of my friends, because the UFC gives us tickets. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. It's mad watching it live. It's such a different experience with the speakers, the atmosphere, people going mad. It's actually quite funny to feel like as if I'm part of the older generation now. Do you know what I mean? Just turning 30. So like I see all these like younger kids, like maybe 19, 20, like all going mad for this group, and I'm like, imagine back in the day they must have been going mad for people like 50 Cent or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Back when I was growing up. So it was a really amazing experience. But so we left a little bit early, but we wanted to avoid the traffic, which was a great idea, because we ended up getting back to theirs about, I think, 11:30. I was thinking to leave on the night, but I was way too tired. I was like thinking it's probably best if I get a little bit of rest, because I've got a train tomorrow. So I just slept at theirs, and then at 5 o'clock in the morning woke up and got ready to go, and then by 5:45 I was out the door. It was about a 3-hour trip, so I mean maybe even less than that, like 2 hours and 45 minutes. It actually really wasn't that bad. Sorry, no, it was definitely 3 hours. But anyway, so the training at Tom's gym started at 10 o'clock. I got to my hotel. I did take a couple of stops as well, like at petrol stations and stuff, just to keep the energy going, grabbing some coffees. But because I was thinking, maybe I'll be able to sleep a little bit when I got to the hotel, but I realised that wasn't going to be the case. So when I got to the hotel, it was like 9:15. I'm like, I've got to go straight to training now. So the gym's not too far. Luckily, the place where I went, it was like very close proximity to anywhere that I needed to train, which was amazing. Rain Hill is the name of the place. I don't know if anyone's like anyone's familiar with that. But yeah, it's in like the St. Helens area in Liverpool. And yeah, literally got so from having probably about 4 hours sleep, got 4 or 5 hours sleep, went straight to the gym, got straight to training. They were doing like their MMA wrestling, like kind of more sparring sort of session, which was amazing. I must say, Andy, Tom's dad, Tom himself, and all the guys, all the rest of the team, Phil DeFries, Mick Parkin, Pavel Delidko, there was even Ante Delia, who was the PFL champion, was there. He had a bit of an, so, he kind of strained his, I think his chest a little bit, but by the end of the week, he was back on it. They had some really good guys, like high level guys, and they were all so hospitable and so lovely. Anything I needed, they were there. You can see everything that they say about Tom is absolutely right and absolutely true. He's a very nice fella. I can see why he's so likable, even more so now that I've met him and his dad and all the rest of his team. The rest of his team are amazing. He's got a great camp, and yeah, we basically just got straight into the grappling rounds. Got some grappling with Tom and some of the other lads. So it was good to experience all that, do the different drills, and then it was also like a different type of training regimen or training routine. Tom likes to do a lot of strength and conditioning in the evenings just to get his sort of conditioning up and his strength and his power. They call it S&P, not S&C. They call it strength and power, not strength and conditioning. But so that was amazing. Then the next day we had the sparring day with the big gloves and the shin pads, and I got to do a couple of rounds with Tom himself. And one thing I must say is that when they say he's fast for a heavyweight, they ain't joking. Like I thought, they all said that I'm pretty fast, for a light heavyweight, but this guy is genuinely faster than some of the light heavyweights that I've fought. In terms of his footwork, in terms of coordination, it was really, really interesting and really fun to do rounds with him, and the rest of the guys as well. There's a guy called Joffrey there who's really good as well. Pavel as well, another good kickboxer. So I got some really good rounds out there, man. And the whole week was just the same sort of vibe. That they drilled a lot. They got the positions a lot. Did the strength and conditioning with the different coaches. And I can just see like their routine is different, and it's nice to experience something different. It's nice to experience something as well that's outside of the norm. Changing up your environment. I think it was good for me mentally. Doing the same routine over and over and over again. Don't get me wrong, I'll do it, but at the same time, sometimes you need to mix it up, especially when I haven't got a fight, and I'm just looking to work on different areas and improve different things. And it was good because they added different things that again that I can add to my game, and being there the whole week, like I say, was just a very good mental refresh, just to be away from the normal regular lifestyle and just experience something new. And I really like Liverpool. Everyone up there is so much friendlier, man. I swear to God, like everyone up there just so welcoming. They say they're pleased, their thank you opens doors. They're so lovely up there. I mean, not to say that people aren't lovely down here in London, but it's definitely to the nth degree out there. And yeah, I got on really well with everyone. Everyone was really nice to me, took really good care of me. And ultimately, what it means is that I'm going to go up there again. And I think when a fight gets booked, I already spoke to my coaches, Danny and my dad. We're going to go up there every second week. So to get some sparring with different bodies. Because sometimes I don't get the big bodies down here in London. So in order to be able to get that, go up there, and every second week I get some really good sparring, get to test out my techniques, test out my moves. I'll say another thing is that it also going out there and training with like pretty much the best of the best, and training with some of the best athletes, other guys in the UFC, other guys in big organizations. It shows me that I belong where I belong. I just need to go out there and perform. So I feel very confident in my skill set. I feel like everything is just starting to evolve and come to fruition properly within my skill set just now as I'm turning 30. Maybe you could say it's a very similar sort of thing that happened to Anderson Silva. I mean, he only got to the UFC when he was 31 and then reigned for many years and became one of the greatest of all time. So I believe I'm on a similar trajectory, I guess you could say, because I feel like now I'm just starting to come within my own, find my own techniques. You know, it's very similar to going out to Germany and testing yourself against other UFC athletes and seeing what their lifestyle's like, and seeing that I fit in within that bracket, and seeing how the best in the world trains. It was absolutely amazing. I was very thankful, very grateful for that experience, and I'm very much looking forward to go up there again. The only thing that's annoying is obviously the drive, but hotels and stuff like that are pretty easy. I should have got an Airbnb because I couldn't cook anything, so I was eating out all day. Every day, like literally Nando's, and trying to find some sort of takeaway, like get like a chicken wrap or something. But everything was just very dialed in, very on point, and it just was another much needed trip to just broaden my horizons and add to my game. So it's very exciting, and I'm definitely excited to go back up there again.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was a very, very successful trip, and I mean, the fact that you're going to be making it, a regular fixture of the next training camp for when you do have a fight booked is, I mean, says it all, right? But one of the things I suppose the most interesting part, and we spoke about this before you went, is that Tom has been able to kind of tailor this training camp, that setup that he has to him, which is an interesting thing because there aren't many UFC fighters out there that are able to do that. And I know that, like, you have your own kind of tailored setup in terms of you do this and you go to these places and then this is what you're doing on every single day, right? But with Tom, it's kind of like he's in that one place like every day, and kind of everything comes to him, right? Which of course, is a bit of a luxury when you're a UFC interim heavyweight champion that you can afford to do. But how was that kind of vibe? Like we spoke about, I think it was the last episode, it might have been the one before, about having everything training under one roof, and that kind of experience versus going to different places and things like that. And
Yeah.
obviously with Tom, it's like you see I mean, whilst you're out there, seeing the photos every day from the Instagram account they've got over there, it's like, yeah, I can see why this setup works so well for him, because it's like, what else could you possibly need?
Yeah, they flick around between a couple of gyms, but they're all within 30 minutes distance. Like they're all within the same proximity. So you're not really having to travel too crazy far to go anywhere. It's all, within the same set. They've got one place where they do more their striking. They've got one place where they do more their jiu-jitsu, but it's all linked to MMA. Another thing that I thought was very interesting with Tom, I still work on my freestyle wrestling, doing a wrestling tournament. I still work on my jiu-jitsu in the purest jiu-jitsu form. But he tries to stick everything to completely to MMA, and I guess in a way, why wouldn't you? Being I think 31, maybe I think he's a little bit older than me. I think he's maybe 31 or 32. I'm not 100% sure, but he's focusing on everything specific to MMA. The grappling is just for MMA. The wrestling is just for MMA. Everything is just linked to doing stuff specifically for the art. Whereas he did a lot of jiu-jitsu growing up in the gi and stuff like that. Now he just tailors everything specifically to MMA. And yeah, I just think it's amazing that it's like a real family up there. Everyone's everyone's all together and all trying to just better themselves. It's just like the daily routine, and everyone's just enjoying themselves, and like I say, trying to get better, and it's all under just like one or two different roofs, so I like it just because, again, everything's very close to where I stayed. It was very convenient, very easy, and I could concentrate just fully and solely on the training and improving myself. And like I say, everyone was took me on with a big heart, and I really appreciate that. They're a great team up there.
Yeah, of course, having the setup is one thing, but having the bodies there is always going to be the main thing. And I think that it's incredibly impressive that not only has he got the facilities and things like that around him to make for the best training, but also the people there to do it with. Like one of the things that we said before you went off is like to find enough guys that are that big is difficult enough, but then to have the KSW heavyweight champion there in Phil DeFries, Mick Parkin in the UFC 2-0 in the heavyweight division, Ante D'Elia, like you said, former PFL heavyweight champ. Like the bodies that he's got there are not just like you said, the benefit of having big guys to train with every day, but you know, they're high level guys as well that are like some of the best in their weight class and stuff. Like it's insane. Like what was that like in terms of just the level? Because it's quite an exclusive thing, right? Like it has a little bit more of a, you know, when you see some of these American, like those like super gyms that you get out there in the US, where, you know, you'll see a photo of their training and there's like 15 UFC fighters on the mats and something like that. You know, not anybody can just walk onto those mats. It's an exclusive club. And like I said, seeing the photos on Instagram, it's like, you know, if you're an MMA fan and you like really know what's up across, you know, Europe and everything, you can look at those photos and go, I know that person, that person, that person, that, like,
Yeah.
you know, they're stacked.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of high level athletes on the mats, and it just makes the training much more competitive and much better. One thing I would say is that the same as Tom's gym and even my gym in Northampton with my dad, is that there's a very close attention to detail. One thing that I don't know if you necessarily see it in American gyms, but a lot of it in America is obviously going as for physicality, as much sparring and as much positional stuff as possible. Whereas over here, they like to fine tune everything, like have little bits and bobs that they're trying to tweak, make it a little bit better here, make it a little bit better there. Same like in Danny's gym. Danny really focuses on making sure that everything, even my dad as well, like with grappling, with striking, always down to a T, everything has to be correct. And I like that because you know, being meticulous will only help you improve your skill set. And like guys like Gordon Ryan are so meticulous with their techniques on the ground. So you know, and like I say, being with high level athletes who are also willing to learn, wanting to improve their game, and then obviously you're getting to spar some of the best people in the country and out of Europe, and that have all come together just to get better. It's really an amazing thing. And like I say, I do feel like the reason why England's able to catch up with the Americans in wrestling and other things is because of how much attention to detail they actually do focus on in this country, and especially where I have trained. So, you know, and we're not even really starting to lack in physicality either. You know, we're able to go the rounds. We're able to be able to handle the strength of other fighters, and we're able to technically outmaneuver these people. So that I think is one thing that definitely stands out with training here across wherever I've trained, is the attention to detail, and even just in Europe in general. Even I haven't. It's been a while since I've trained in America, but you know, even in Germany when I trained, like getting these little things that are going to make you that much better and make you you know, do things a bit more precise and stuff like this. It's like I say, you can't really ask for anything more in terms of training, and in terms of where I'm out of camp or off season, I guess you want to call it. And I'm just trying to improve my skills. This helps me to do that to a much higher extent.
Do you think when it comes to the difference maybe there between, you know, those big American gyms and then what you, like you said, like what some of the gyms in the UK do, but also across Europe? The only thing I can think that it would possibly be is just a quantity thing, right? There are so many MMA fighters in America. Those top gyms have constantly got new people coming in and things like that. That I'm sure, you know, if you can get in. I was speaking to Chris Duncan yesterday, and obviously he's been spending the last, I think, year or two out at an American top team, and has got in close with like Mike Brown and Dustin Poirier and those guys. And once you're in that group, I would imagine it is a little bit more specific, a little bit more unique. They know your game a lot more. They can spend that time working with you a little bit more on the details, right? The fine tunings, instead of just, you know, like you said, the physicality of it, making sure your cardio is good, getting the sparring rounds in. It is a little bit more meticulous, but I would imagine that is just because the sheer amount of bodies that they've got to deal with coming in and out of the gym every day, right?
Yeah, and obviously having, again, it's all about making connections with people, you know, and you know, like I say, I like to get along with most people and stuff like this, and it's like I say, it's just creating that connection, creating that vibe, creating that you know, mutual understanding between each other and stuff like this. And a lot, you know, in a lot of places, it takes quite a while to build that sort of relationship. But I definitely feel over there. I mean, I've only been there once. I mean, obviously, I've fought alongside Tom on one card before, but even then, like you know what I mean, like they are so welcoming. like so lovely, like such nice people that it just makes the whole experience even better. It makes you feel like part of the team, part of the unit. And like I say, everyone's just trying to improve and trying to get better. And if we can come around with like-minded people and just improve more together, it's only going to make us collectively as a group become better. So it's just good to have that sort of environment. And like I say, up north, everyone's a lot nicer and a lot more, kind of up for having a conversation and stuff like this. So yeah, man. Some places you need to take longer time to build those relationships, but in others, it happens very instantly. But it just depends on how well you click with people. And yeah, those especially the guys at Tom's gym, is everyone's just like I say, very lovely and very welcoming, and very exciting as I go up there in the future leading up to fights.
Maybe you got a little bit of the northern spirit, a little bit of northern spirit living down south, because like you said, that there is a big difference. I can't imagine many people that haven't been to the UK would even think this, right? Because a lot of people think of the UK, they think London, and I've been asked by people I'm interviewing in the past, oh, do you live in London? Just because I'm from the UK, right? It's what most people think of. But there is quite a big difference between the two. So and also like we said, a little bit of variation in camp. Every couple of weeks, get to go up and see some, maybe a little bit more chatty, a little bit more friendly Northerners for a change.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, do you know what? As I've gotten older, I've actually another thing that I mentioned to my dad as well was that I kind of enjoyed my own company. I enjoyed almost being by myself, just kind of being within my own thoughts. I enjoyed obviously training with different guys, but then even just going back to the hotel and just being by myself, just doing my own thing. Do you know what I mean? Thinking about what I want to think about, getting ready for the next training session, and just I think as much as you got to enjoy being around other people, which I definitely do, and obviously being around the amazing people that are part of that gym, but at the same time, I just enjoying being on my own, enjoy being in my own thoughts, and becoming more in tune with that, because you realize that it is a very lonely game, and it does get very lonely during camp, and it's almost like just getting used to the fact that it is going to be lonely. You are going to be on your own. You're going to have to think about things, and there's going to be times where you're going to be fighting with yourself, with demons, like from training sessions even that that you feel like you didn't do as well. So it's nice to actually have a bit more time to be able to do that, and that in turn just makes you more in tune with, like I say, trying to improve certain aspects of your game. So I'm definitely, like I say, just very, very looking forward to continue. I'm going to definitely bring my dad up next time I come up with me. But it's good. We've got a really good relationship, and yeah, inevitably we're just trying to make us the best that we can. I definitely feel like I've matured as a man, as a human, and as a fighter, and it can only get better and move forward from here. I'm very thankful for the events of last year. It's really opened my eyes. So even being here now, where I am at this point, even without a fight, I'm there's times where you think, oh, I just want to fight. I want to become a superstar. You look at some of these other guys that are in the spotlight, you're like, I also deserve this thing. You know what I mean? Like I put up a post up on Twitter, I'm also meant to be a superstar. It's just seeing the way that I've been improving and my skill set, and how, I feel like I should be up there with the best of them. And I know it will all happen in good time. You just got to stay on course, stay on track, learn the lessons, and make your way up that ladder.
Yeah, the final thing I wanted to mention from the time spent over there with Tom Aspinall was something I actually ended up writing an article about, because I saw it in one of the posts, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I guess it kind of speaks to the kind of welcoming nature of those guys up there with that team. But it did make me laugh seeing a row of just all light heavyweights and heavyweights, and then in that mix you had boxing former world champion turned, is going to be turning into an MMA fighter with the PFL. Savannah Marshall was in the mix, and I was like, wait a minute, one of these people is not like the others. Like, just stands out so clearly as soon as you see it. All these giant guys on the mats, and then Savannah Marshall. But like I said, speaks to the welcoming nature of the gym. You know, the fact that she's hasn't even had an MMA fight. You know, she wants to transition into it at some point to fight with the PFL, but you know, the fact that she's on the mats with them as well, it just again speaks to their incredible setup, and I suppose their ability to be able to adapt to different, you know, even though it is all big guys, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that is the only thing that they can do, right? The ability to adapt and overcome and change to different people, different skill sets, different body types, all these things.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Like I say, got a load of very high level athletes out there, all very same, all very welcoming, all very warm, and we're just all trying to learn and trying to get better. So I'm sure that transition to MMA is going to be an amazing thing for her, especially around the right people. And do you know what? It's mad that it's not often you see me being the smallest guy on the mat. I definitely felt like I was I was like the tree stump in comparison to all these like massive monsters out here. Do you know what I mean? They're all like 115 kilo or close to that, and I was sitting there around 102 kilo. Maybe sometimes in certain days I was even a little bit less, like 101. You know, so it's mad to think that you know a lot of these guys were just like that much bigger than me. It's not often you get that. Usually I'm the biggest guy, struggling to find partners, but over there, absolutely no problem. You know, everyone's absolutely huge. So it was definitely very a nice contrast actually, to the training that I'm used to. So it was nice, obviously, to test myself against, you know, bigger guys as well in the strength department. You know, obviously they are a lot stronger than some of the guys that I know, but in terms of that, I don't feel like I have any issues. I feel like I can compete with those guys, and it's good. It's nice. It's nice to, like I say, feel small for once, you know. And I liked it. I liked it. It was different.
I mean, anyone who follows Tom on social media, first of all, I don't think you can't, it's hard to tell sometimes through a TV how big someone actually is. But Tom Aspinall, I think most people would be surprised by how big that guy actually is.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you follow him on social media, the clips of him training with Eddie Hall are absolutely insane. So
They're hilarious. Yeah. Mate, he's 6'5" and I think 250 pounds. Like he's a unit. You know, he's got you know big legs, big upper body, big frame, and he's super fast. So yeah, it makes him, you know, definitely a very imposing figure. That's for sure.
Yeah. Training with all those big guys and grappling with them, I'm sure put you in good stead for the wrestling tournament that you came pretty much straight back to, right? So how was that in terms of getting back and going straight into that without, you know,
Yeah,
too
I
much
mean,
time in
I
between?
got home at about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night on the Friday, and then I literally had to go to sleep at like 9 because I had to wake up at 5 to get ready to go up to Sheffield. So literally going up, down, up, down. But yeah, obviously grappling with those guys. Obviously, wrestling's a little bit different in terms of the rule set, in terms of how you shoot, in terms of how you do certain things. But I was very happy with my performance. I could have done better, but look, last tournament I didn't even get a medal. This time I got a medal. You know, so I'm slowly working to make those improvements. Two guys that I have to admit, you know, as you saw from one of the clips, I beat pretty handily, both with pins. But there was another guy. I think he was like actually a very good wrestler. I think he was once a British champion at wrestling. Who he actually came second. But I went with him, and he was winning 5-0 at the very beginning, and then I started clawing my way back. I started getting takedowns and taking his back, and I ended up getting 4 points. So I was on 5-4, and there's about 30 seconds left, and I just couldn't manage to pull off the last takedown, even though I was very close. So you know, even then going against a British champion, prior British champion, and you know, taking him down to the wire and almost winning, I think was pretty good for myself. There's things that I obviously want to do better, things that I want to improve upon, but it's definitely made me more confident in the area of wrestling and you know, trying to take people down, and it helps me conserve my energy better as well, like learn how to use those energy systems for wrestling. So you know, when you put that all into an MMA mindset, it's only going to make you better. So it was a good tournament. So good experience. 2 wins, one loss basically for the bronze medal match. I won, but to get to the bronze medal match, I lost that one by 1 point. But you know, to be competing against these guys, it's like I say, it's a privilege. And you know, getting medaled in wrestling, I think a lot of people like that pose. I don't think many people expected me to go and do things like this, but I'll definitely be doing more of them. I want to do jiu-jitsu tournaments. I've got to stay active, and I've got to try and improve as much as I can. And being in a competition environment will make you more confident to use your skill set in a pressure environment, like, you know, i.e. going into the cage and using it in the cage, and being confident with it. So that's essentially what I'm going to go and do, and also learn the energy systems as well, in terms of being able to use my energy to the max, going 2 3-minute rounds with only 30 seconds rest, and literally having to go for it. And you know, towards the end of that second one, I really did go for it, and even when I was like mad tired. So you know, it was, again, a very good experience. Bronze medal. Next time we're going to go for silver. Next time we're going to go for gold. We're going to just try and keep improving every single step of the way, and definitely do more tournaments, and just also competing at 125 kilogram weight division. Again, competing against guys who are at least 10 kilos heavier than me, it can only do good for me. And I think I'll definitely do that in jiu-jitsu as well, try and compete against guys who are much heavier as well. And yeah, ultimately, I just want to try and make my skill sets as good as possible, so that when I get into the cage, it becomes the most fluid and the most natural for me. Because striking's always been my natural thing, but okay, well, can we just mix up the takedowns a little bit? Can we mix up the jiu-jitsu and go for submissions, and put it all together? And that's essentially what I'm working towards. And again, I truly have this belief and real sense in my mind and in my heart that God is watching over me. He's trying to make me the best that I can, so that this second run goes the way that I want it to, and to achieve those things that I set out to achieve. So everything will come in good time. I'm doing all the right things now. Now it's just time to, like I say, just keep improving the skill set. And when I'm ready, the opportunity will come. I'll make sure that I'm ready. I'll make sure that I'm in shape. I'll make sure that my cardio is good. And then sky's the limit from there.
You mentioned about competing against guys that are heavier than you, and obviously, you know, that fits very well considering you've just spent that time over at Aspinall's gym. And it's actually something that I hadn't thought about too much in the past. And then I was watching the UFC Countdown episode for the pay-per-view this weekend, and Volkanovski was talking about that, and how, you know, he had been over to Vegas, so away from his gym, to do the press conference in December and stuff like that. And the only guys that he brought out with him was a welterweight that he trains with, and then Craig Jones, who is a very big guy for a grappler. And he kind of spoke about that, and how you know, when he's up against those guys, he is, you know, very physically strong. So it's not, you know, he is able to compete with those guys, but also, you know, it makes him have to be better technically than those guys instead of powering out. And then it means that when he goes back down to fighting featherweights in his natural weight class, he suddenly feels so much stronger than them, and he's got the technique advantage to back it up as well. So he's not relying on brute strength or anything like that. Like, you know, you mentioned it when we were talking about Aspinall's gym, how you're usually the biggest guy in the room. So it's not something that you get the opportunity to do too much. But did that make you feel a little bit more like, again, we spoke about the confidence of not only having that wrestling in your back pocket, but knowing when to use it and being confident enough to use it? And I imagine, even though you weren't able to get the gold in this latest wrestling tournament, coming up against those guys and being competitive, and also being competitive with guys that are naturally heavier than you, again, it is kind of like, without winning the gold every single time, you're still up in that confidence every single time you're doing.
Oh yeah, and remember, these guys train only wrestling. You know,
yeah,
I'm training. I was literally spent a week training MMA. You know, I wasn't doing a week spending training wrestling. You know, I went up north to train MMA, to improve my MMA game. So to go out there and still get the bronze, you know, I think that, like I say, I think that definitely speaks volumes. But yeah, again, it's definitely a confidence thing. I think a lot of guys, like even George St. Pierre, wasn't the best wrestler, but when he goes into MMA, he can mix it up, and he's got the timing down, and that's all it is, about finding the timing, finding the right moment, and getting them off balance the appropriate way in order to make those things happen. So, you know, yeah, there's a lot of things that can be learned from, okay, how do I get people off balance in this tournament? Um, how do I get to their legs? What makes them, what fakes them, what gets them in the right position for me to do this, you know? So there's a lot of things that you can learn from these tournaments. And I think I'm just definitely gonna use it, just you know, analyze where I can be better, and where I need to sort of be a little bit sharper. And, you know, ultimately, it's all about body positioning in wrestling and getting in tight, and you know, almost like having like a smoke screen up top and then drive into the legs, you know. So and having that time to be fast, you know, like obviously you're not always going to get it, but, you know, even the times where you're fast, you're getting on the legs, they're defending, and then knowing how to finish the takedown afterwards. So there's a lot of things that comes into play. And like I say, it's just it's all part of this game of the game of life, the game of fighting. And I truly feel like this is where I'm coming out into my peak in terms of skill set. And like I say, it's very exciting, and especially in a weight division where the higher weight divisions usually have, you could say, lower sets of skills in terms of certain things. I feel like I'm definitely coming into my own in terms of skill sets now. It's just about going out there and just applying it and putting it out on the world stage. And as it gets closer to a potential fight, the better that I'll get. You know, as time just keeps ticking, we're always just working on the improvement. So it's very different even to last year, where I went from one fight pretty much straight into another one, and then pretty much straight into another one after that. And the time to develop, where you're actually sitting there hungry for a fight, it wasn't there so much. Not to say there wasn't there so much, but, you know, it like now I've got even more hunger. Like, I just like, when's the call coming? When's the text coming from my manager telling me that they have an opponent? You know, and that hunger is good for competition. And you know, it makes you want to be even more disciplined. You know, for some people, it can be, I guess you could say, makes you a bit less disciplined. And yeah, maybe in some areas you think, okay, well, I don't need to be so strict but okay, well, what if an opportunity comes up? We just might as well just be strict and on point and try and live that lifestyle more and more. You know, I truly believe that when I get into a training camp or a fight camp, even then things will ramp up even more, as long as I start it off at a good place now. Then when it's like fight camp, okay, now we're ramping up to the next level, to the nth degree, which will make me even more sharp. And yeah, man, everything that I've been doing has all been helping. Again, using my wrestling in a competitive environment, not to be scared, just to go for it, and to control my energies. These are all very good things. And as I say, I'm looking forward to just bringing it out there in the fight. So I just got to just keep working on, like I say, when God believes that it's the right time, it will happen. So I just have to humbly try and keep improving until, you know, until the time is right.
I remember a little bit of a tangent here, but I remember when Demetrius Johnson decided he was going to do grappling tournaments for the foreseeable future and wasn't kind of focusing on MMA for a while, and you know, he steps into like whatever, I think it was like brown belt masters that he ended up doing, and he goes on to win it. And you know, you can imagine that when that guy steps on the mat and everyone shows up and they realize they're in the same weight bracket, they're like, wait a minute, this can't be right. I'm a brown belt masters too. How am I coming up against, you know, one of the greatest of all time in Demetrius Johnson? Obviously, you know, some of those guys are going to be, you know, dedicated jiu-jitsu guys, and that's all they do. But, you know, people know who DJ is, and that must be a daunting thing to see him step onto the mats and stand across from you. Have you ever had any opponent in a tournament be like, wait a minute, I know who that guy is. I've seen him on the TV before.
Yeah, I have had a couple of people like come up and ask for photos. I think the guy who ended up winning gold, actually, he messaged me afterwards. I think he does a bit of MMA himself, and he realised who I was. But yeah, no, I have had a couple of people come up to me and, you know, not everyone knows who I am. Like, you know, I haven't created that sense of stardom just yet. But yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes you get people that recognize, oh, I've seen you fight in the UFC. And, you know, I had a couple of people just in the crowd that came up to me and said, you know, I've watched your fights and blah, 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 which was really cool. So yeah, now it just shows people that, you know, like, you know, I'm going out there trying to bet myself just like everyone else, you know. And I feel it makes people feel more connectable to you, you know, and I think that in itself means that I can vibe a bit better with the fans and stuff like this, and yeah, I mean it's amazing. I don't think I've had that sense of guys like getting starstruck when they see me yet, but again. We just got to go out there and perform, and then everything will come full circle. So, like I say, I'm just looking forward to it. I do feel like this is almost like a transition. This everything for me, like I said, happens a bit later. But Sean O'Malley, when he had his injury and all he could work on was his jiu-jitsu, and all he could work on was certain areas of his game. So I feel like I'm sort of in the same sort of process here myself.
Yeah. The final thing I wanted to talk about, which does kind of relate to that kind of next level of putting on those performances and getting that name recognition. I believe the very first episode we did of this, we spoke about a former Cage Warriors fighter who had won his UFC contract on the Contender Series when Oban Elliott put on one of the best fights of last year on the Contender Series. And we have UFC 298 this weekend where he's going to be making his debut. It's also a stacked card. So that's exciting enough as it is. But Obad is definitely a guy that I've been saying for a long time is like, once he gets to the UFC, he's such a character that it's a matter of time before people start taking notice of him. But also, like I said, huge card. What are you excited about on this UFC 298 card? Because the next run of pay-per-views is outrageous. So if you're an MMA fan, then like the year is like just getting started. Like it gets insane from here.
Obviously, I'm very excited to see Oban's fight. He's always been, like you say, a character, and he's always been very entertaining. He comes out to fight. He's very technical as well, very technically sound. Obviously, it's going to be amazing to see his debut and for him to get his shot at the big time, which is very well deserved, especially after his amazing win on Contender Series. So I'm really looking forward to that. He's a really lovely guy, and he's obviously an amazing athlete. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get the win on Saturday and start his UFC career on the right path. Obviously, you've got Volkanovski fighting Topuria. That's another big fight. Everyone's sort of counting Volkanovski out a little bit because he's a bit older, and then Topuria has just been on an absolute tear. So obviously he's coming in with a lot of confidence in that fight. That's a great fight. Whittaker and Costa, the fight that should have happened so many times, and now we finally get to see that one again. That'll be very interesting. Clash of styles. Costa, very powerful, forward-moving, aggressive fighter. Whittaker, bouncy on the back foot. Using the blitz style. So there's a lot of there's definitely a lot of great fights on that card, and it's as I say, it's just a very exciting time for MMA and for MMA fans. And like you said, the pay-per-views are like absolutely horrendously good. Obviously, you got Merab as well and Cejudo, battle some of the best wrestlers in UFC. So that's going to be another great fight. So we got some really good matchups on hand. We've got Ian Gary as well fighting. Who's he fighting again?
Jeff Neal.
Jeff Neal, sorry, yeah. So again, another very interesting fight. Another more personalities coming out there as well. So I mean, you've got like a load of different stories to be told on this card, and a load of different like incredible matchups that have been made. So those two put together, I mean, this is a great pay-per-view. And like I say, I'm very excited to watch it. It's definitely going to be very inspiring as well to see these athletes put their careers on the line, and put their status on the line to go and see who's the best. And like I say, I'm just really looking forward to it. There's loads of really good fights there, really high level as well.
This this just came into my head, and I don't know whether maybe it's something that we'll get into at a later point and kind of go into a little bit more detail on, because I appreciate that I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here if you don't have an answer already like in your mind of like, oh yeah, that one. I don't know if this is something you would have even thought about before, but is there someone that stands out to you as a fighter in the UFC that is most similar to your style?
That's interesting. I don't believe so. I really don't. I feel like, especially now, this might be just my own personal opinion, but I do believe that now, because I've had so many lessons I've had to learn and so many different things that I've needed to improve upon, I believe that now my style is very versatile. You know, people have not yet seen the grappling yet or anything like that. To that extent, which, like I said, I'm very excited to go out and prove and show. But even in my striking style, the way that I'm moving and stuff like this, I don't feel many people can imitate the style that I possess. I feel like I'm trying to take little bits and bobs from so many different athletes, like Taporia's pressure style in the pocket, to Adesanya's switching stances, to Stephen Wonderboy with the kicks. I'm trying to utilize something from all the greatest fighters and put it out there on display. Then all we've got to do now is just go out there and show it, really, and go out there and prove it, essentially. And I feel like my 100% potential has not been reached in the UFC. The closest that I got to that was probably against the fight against Tyson Pedro. And even then, I probably should have even done more in that fight. You know what I mean? So there's loads of different things that still need to be tweaked. I'm just waiting for the day to finally go out there and say, and like it really and truly say to people, I fought with all of my skill set as good as, and I know a lot of fighters, they don't always do, they always probably feel like there could be things, everyone's very self-critical, but I believe if I do show that, then, I can be an unstoppable force in this light heavyweight division. So it's all about just going out there and showing it, really. So if you say who's got the most similar style, I don't think there's someone that can imitate my style. But then again, there's people's styles that they don't think people can't imitate theirs, or you know what I mean. So, but yeah, that's my take on it, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I'd agree with you for a start, but yeah. So I was curious if there would be one in your head that's like, hey, that guy kind of fights a little bit like me. But like you said, that it's not an uncommon thing for a fighter to not really have someone that matches their style, because like yourself, they're doing the same kind of thing, right? Taking little bits from different people and blending it together in their own way. So I would imagine that a lot of fighters would have a similar thing, would have a similar kind of viewpoint, right? Because in their head, their game is made up of all these little different little tools and weapons and things like that. So it's hard to kind of it's really hard to compare that to, on a surface level maybe, but not totally. Right, that will do it for this episode, man. That was we had a lot to get to, so I think we covered just about everything. What's the plan for the next week? Is it a little bit more back to a routine of sorts, or just
off travel? No, normal regular routine. Going back to jiu-jitsu, going back to the wrestling sessions, going back to my dad's strength and conditioning, and stuff like this. So it's pretty much just normal what I've been doing before. So now I've been away. Now I've experienced something different. Now we're going back to what I normally do. So it's just, again, just trying to improve, man. Just trying to get better. Just trying to make those 1% every single day. And that's all we can ask for, man. And then hopefully I'll have some fight news, or at least I can say on a podcast, if I can't announce it yet, we have a fight signed to get people excited about. But as of right now, we just keep improving, man. That's all we can do.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing it and chatting to you about it more in the next week or so. All right.
My man.
Have a good week,
Great
man.
chatting to you once again. Yeah. Nice one.
Always,
Take care.
man.